So good morning. I'm Stefania Giusfabri. I'm the director of the International Office. And I wish to welcome you for this information session. Formally, this is the first February information session that we are holding online. We've held some smaller information session online and obviously quite a number of pre-departure meetings. Over the past year, we've had to change a lot of our methods of communicating with our students, future participants, beneficiaries, and it's a learning experience for us as well. I thank you for registering for the session. We're very happy to see so many students interested in following information about Erasmus. We have prepared a short presentation, okay, which will be led by Ms. Victoria Gauci, Deputy Director of the International Office. And I'd like you to follow through with the presentation, okay? There's also a short video prepared by the European Commission promoting the program, which is very interesting as it gives you a bit more of a broader look at why Erasmus exists. I can see Janice Merchia, the leader of the Erasmus Outgoing team, okay? She's the main coordinator, ably assisted by Marco, Bernard, and Abigail as well, who have joined us over the past months. We have a relatively young team running Erasmus here. We've been in Erasmus for 20 years. This is our 20th year of participation, so we have seen thousands of University of Malta students participating in the program, traveling widely. Some of them still live abroad or moved abroad, some came back. We also have received thousands of students here. It's a flagship program of the Commission, and I really hope that this information will be useful for you. At the end, we'll take questions, okay? And feel free to forward your questions. We have Matthias Caruana, the International Officer of KSU, who is ably assisting us as well, moderating the session. And Matthias has also been extremely helpful with the program since he took office last year. And I really thank him and KSU for all their support now, in the past, and in the future too. Okay, I'll give the floor to Victoria to lead us through the presentation, please. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for this presentation, through which we shall be providing information about Erasmus in general, and also specific information with regards to the call for student mobility applications for 2021. I would like to start off this presentation by presenting a short video that has been produced by the European Commission. The video explains the importance of Erasmus on a European level and the opportunities it provides to participants.
One of the main challenges is to help education, training and youth systems to adapt to a very fast-changing world. There are very high levels of unemployment, including youth unemployment in Europe right now, but it's estimated there are something like 2 million job vacancies at the same time. And this is a really important aim of Erasmus Plus, to modernise and make sure that the teaching and learning is relevant to the skills needed today and tomorrow for the jobs we cannot begin to imagine will exist in the future.
Erasmus Plus bedeutet auch mehr Geld für die Zusammenarbeit und Mobilität in Europa und über Europa hinaus.
Ce qui est la clé, c'est le capital humain. Ce sont les personnes. C'est elles qui aujourd'hui vont permettre d'innover, de créer, d'entreprendre.
I really believe in Erasmus. I think that it changes people's life. It changed my life, and it changed the life of many of the people that I work with. And I think that you should give this opportunity to more people.
Erasmus Plus s'adresse non seulement aux étudiants, mais également aux apprentis, aux jeunes, volontaires, bénévoles, aux enseignants, aux membres du personnel éducatif, aux animateurs de jeunesse et également aux personnes travaillant dans le domaine du sport.
die Studierenden, das Personal, ihr Verwaltungspersonal auch internationalisieren und die ganze Institution sozusagen international wird und dadurch auch mehr Möglichkeiten schafft für die Mobilität.
International collaboration is vital. Your education is not just your home country, it's not even your home language. There's a big wide world out there that we can all learn from and we can all contribute to.
So, as we have seen from the presentation, Erasmus provides plenty of opportunities to higher education institutions like the University of Malta. For the scope of this presentation, we shall be focusing on the first two listed in the slide, namely student mobility for studies and student mobility for traineeships. Who is eligible to participate in Erasmus? Basically, all the registered students at UM from undergraduate level to doctoral level can apply for Erasmus. Students may participate in different mobility periods that totaling up to 12 months for each study cycle. Study mobilities must take place during the designated mobility semester set by the different courses. Students must fulfill any minimum average marks required by the faculty, institute, center, or school to be able to participate in Erasmus. Through the following two slides, we shall be exploring the differences between studies and traineeships. So basically, student mobility for studies, the duration would be between 3 to 12 months. And the students would apply to undertake part of their studies abroad. Their studies during this period and the credits they would have registered for would be recognized as part of the final degree issued by the University of Malta. We recommend that in the application form, students select 5 placement preferences and available for their area of studies. Students must fulfill any minimum requirements in terms of minimum marks set by the faculty. Certain faculties have thresholds, minimum marks that basically students would need to achieve before being able to proceed on Erasmus. When we start the selection process, students' averages are retrieved from SIMS and the applications are ranked on the basis of academic performance. Selection is then endorsed by the faculties, institutes, centers, and schools concerned. Traineeships have a shorter duration. Generally, they range between 2 to 12 months. Traineeships are also eligible for the different study cycles at the University of Malta. And traineeships can be either part of a specific course, for example, nursing placements, which would be prearranged by the faculty, or else the students have the opportunity to carry out traineeships not as part of their coursework. So in this case, it can be research traineeship or an actual work traineeship with an NGO or an organization of their choice. Erasmus Plus provides students with financial support for their mobility abroad. So the first part of the first part of the funding provided to students is individual support. Basically, as you can see from the table, the European Commission splits the countries participating in the European-bound Erasmus in three groups, depending on the standard of living and the living costs in the different countries. So basically, a student going to Oslo would be entitled to 770 euros per month. The individual support is worked out by taking the monthly rate multiplied by the duration of the mobility. So we obtain a pro rata calculation for the rates set by the European Commission. Apart from the individual support, students will also receive travel support. This is a one-time payment to each participant. As you can see on the right-hand side of the screen, the European Commission have provided universities with what we refer to as the distance calculator. Basically, this tool calculates the distance in straight line between two locations. So, for example, in our case, the departing point for our students would be Msida. And if we continue on the example picked earlier, the destination of the mobility would be Oslo, Norway. So in this case, the distance in kilometers would be 2,700 kilometers, and therefore the participant would be eligible to receive 360 euros, the fourth distance band basically. It is important to mention that we are still waiting for the Erasmus program guide for 2021, so the rates might change from the information provided in the screen. We shall keep you updated with the latest information as soon as it becomes available. Online linguistic support. This is basically an initiative created by the European Commission in order to help students gain or improve a language competence, and also to make most of their Erasmus experience abroad. OLS is currently available both for study and traineeship mobilities, and different languages are available through OLS. OLS involves the mobility participants taking a test before they start their mobility. And then, depending on the results, the participants may be invited to take a course, depending on the results of the first assessment. Through the course, students would have the opportunity to learn the language in question. An assessment is then repeated at the end of the mobility to gauge the language competence gained during the mobility. It is important to mention that OLS will not result in stopping any students from proceeding on Erasmus, but this is a new initiative by the European Commission to try to gauge the improvement in language competence gained by the students. Another important thing I'd like to mention is that English is considered as a native language for Malta, and therefore participants will not be required to undertake OLS in English. Having said this, you might have the case that you have a student going to Italy to undertake a mobility where the language of tuition is English, but the student will still have the option to undertake the OLS in Italian in order to be able to gain the Italian language, basically, to gain a knowledge of the Italian language. In the next slide, we shall see another initiative set by the European Commission, special needs. Through this initiative, participants who have physical, mental, or health-related conditions are eligible to receive additional support and funding. Basically, health-related conditions that last 1 year or more, which require medical attention or limits activities on a daily basis, are considered as special needs. To benefit from the support, applicants would need to complete the special needs section on the application form. Students will be required to provide supporting documents to confirm the conditions being claimed so that we can undertake the necessary checks from our end. In this section of the presentation, we shall go through the differences in this year's application process. Basically, this year, we have made applications available online. I would also like to mention the fact that there is one application both for studies and traineeships, so you need to tick the right box whilst you are filling your application. In order to be able to fill in your application, you must ensure that you're logged in with your account, because otherwise you will not be able to fill in the application form. Only one application can be submitted for studies, and the reason is because the selection process for studies is based on academic performance, so only one application can be considered for each applicant. If there are any changes to the preference selected in the application casted by the students, you are allowed to make changes by affecting the changes in the preferences by the deadline. No changes will be allowed after the deadline. The deadline for this year is the 24th of February. It is important that before filling in your application, you become familiar with your mobility semester for the course you are following. And it is also very important to consult the head of departments and Erasmus coordinators regarding the choice of institutions and also the study units available at the host institutions. It is very important to check the language of tuition of the area of study and also the study units which you intend to register for. If more than one application is submitted, as I have explained earlier, the last version shall be considered the final. Necessary information is available on our website and also through our posts on our Facebook page. In the next slide, we have a short video which shows the students how to be able to access the Erasmus Plus page on the University of Malta webpage. So as you can see here, we're on the homepage of the University of Malta, and if students scroll down on the bottom right corner, you'll see international opportunities. Through there, you can click on the tab Erasmus Plus, which will take you to this page where you can find Erasmus opportunities for students. On this page, you'll find details on how to apply and other important information, such as the mobility semesters, the minimum average requirements, and also the list of placements. This list we're seeing right now is the list of faculties, institutes, and schools through which you can access the list of placements for your faculty. And in this list, you'll see the different agreements in the different areas from which you can choose your 5 preferred options. So I would like to thank you for your attention. Right after the presentation, we'll have the opportunity to take some questions from the students joining us for the information session. If you have any further questions in the application period, you are more than welcome to contact us either by email on erasmus@um.edu.mt or by telephone through the telephone lines indicated on the slide. I would like to thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, thank you, Victoria, for that presentation and your intervention. I wish to ask, because I'm not for myself, is this presentation going to be made available on our website for students who couldn't join us at the moment?
Yes, Steph, the intention is basically we're recording the session. and eventually it will be made available on our website for students to be able to access the recording at a later point.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so how have we moderated the questions?
Matthias,
I'm
I
seeing a
think you
message
can
from
take the floor.
Matthias.
They can either send the questions on the chat and I will read them out, or else they can send them privately to me if they wish to remain anonymous.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Also, feel free if there are any questions that wish to just go ahead and ask until we have the first questions. Feel free to intervene.
We had the first question asking if the universities of the UK is still available because of Brexit.
Yes, okay. I can take this question. Basically, yes. As we've all have read in the media, basically, unfortunately, the UK is no longer part of the European Union. And as a result, UK will not continue its participation in Erasmus. However, before they have reached a deal for Brexit, there was already an agreement in place between the European Commission and the British and the UK authorities, whereby they have agreed that any funding that has been allocated until 2020 will allow mobilities to take place between European and UK institutions. So basically, to cut a long story short, you will still be able to proceed on mobilities to the UK for this call for applications. And then depending on funding, maybe also next year. But we do encourage you to take the opportunity if you're interested in undertaking mobilities to the UK.
Okay, so shall I start reading the question? So I'm going to go chronologically. What is the mobility period for engineering, please? Maybe Janice?
For engineering, it would depend either if you are in the stream of mechanical or in the stream of electronical engineering. It's better that you consult with the faculty, with the course coordinator, Kenneth Chikluna, since they have recently been focusing on first trying to send students in their third year, but also they would be considering sending students in their second year. So it's better that you consult with them and see what restrictions they would have, so which would be the smoother process for you.
Okay, just to clarify, it's Kenny Cherry, Dr. Kenny Cherry at engineering. Okay, so he is the academic coordinator for students who are going out from engineering.
Stefan, if you want, I can read the questions because they're sending some privately to me. So
all right, okay. Next one, please.
I have two similar questions, one of them being how do traineeships works, and the other one is would the application process be the same for traineeships?
Exactly. Shall I explain quickly how traineeships work? Okay, so we have different types of traineeships. So there isn't a list of traineeships. The list of placements is one and the same for traineeships or study placements. Now, there are some courses, for example, in pharmacy and pharmaceutical technology, in nursing and midwifery, occupational therapy, most of the health sciences, where students, rather than going for a study mobility, they actually go for a placement. It is still recognized as part of their degree, okay? So it is more of a combination, but we recognize it as a traineeship, okay? Then students can also organize their own traineeships. So for example, if you wish to spend the summer between your second and your third year, gaining experience with a company, an NGO, or another entity, you can secure your placement yourself, okay? So you approach an NGO, not necessarily in your own area of study. So you might be, for example, doing your degree with FEMA, and you might decide, I would like to spend the 3 months of the summer with an NGO managing forests, for example, okay? It's not strictly related to, for example, accountancy or management, but it is a work experience. And as long as you would have submitted an application, okay, now at this point, you might not have secured this traineeship, you might secure it in the future, okay? So it's important that you submit an application, you indicate that you would like to do a traineeship, and then as soon as you have the acceptance letter, you will bring it to us, and if funds are still available, we can fund your traineeship. Traineeships are also available for students who want to do research, okay? So you might be either in your undergraduate degree or postgraduate PhD, and you would like to pursue a research period, either in a library, in a laboratory, again in a firm with an NGO, in a research facility, and you can spend from like the minimum period is 2 months, okay? And as Victoria has explained in the presentation, there is a full duration as well. Again, in those circumstances, if you don't yet have the traineeship, the acceptance letter from an entity for the traineeship, we recommend that you still submit an application by the deadline, okay? So we have your application on file because we cannot accept late applications. And then once you secure the traineeship, you come back to us, and at that point, we will tell you whether we have funds available or not. Usually we do. And again, what I wish to explain is this year, because of COVID, we've had obviously a large number of students who did not proceed on their mobility. So we also have funds left over from the current year, which can be still used next year. Okay, for you, it doesn't make a difference from which year we use funding, but I can assure you that funds are usually very well available. Okay, so if you are interested, for example, you're just starting your master's now, you're still doing your first term, and you might want to go somewhere in the summer, but you don't yet have the exact library or the exact location, submit an application, and then once you have the acceptance, you bring in the letter of acceptance and the office will guide you, okay? Victoria, wish to add something
Yes,
on
I
this?
mean, a lot of students, going back to the mobility semester, I'm seeing that a lot of students have questions about the mobility semesters. So basically, I shall share my screen with you for a second. Basically, everyone can check the mobility semester for his course by going on the University of Malta webpage. When you click Study at UM, in the section here, for example, if I take radiography, once I do a search, the course will come up, and in this different courses available, these are the details for the Bachelor of Science Honours in Radiography. If you scroll down, you'll see there's a section entitled Mobility. In this specific case, it's not listed. Let me pick another course so I can show you. For example, let's go for arts. Usually all the courses would have a mobility semester indicated. And the reason why these mobility semesters are set is because there should be no compulsories during this period. So to make it easier for the students to undertake a mobility. As you can see here, you'll see mobility period and the details of the mobility period for this arts course. This is the Bachelor of Honours in Fine Arts, whereby they're recommending that students are encouraged to do so, preferably in the first semester of the second year of the course. Some students are also asking whether it is possible to undertake a mobility at a different period than the one indicated. We strongly recommend that you do undertake the mobility period in the mobility semester. And the reason is that, first of all, you need to obtain approval from the faculty or institute to undertake a mobility in a different semester, and it is very likely to create difficulty. So we strongly recommend that you stick to the mobility semester set. That's it for my end. I wanted to just clarify this thing.
There was another separate question from someone, is how do they know if their course is based on their course mobility is based on studies or is traineeship?
Basically,
Ideally, they should consult, ideally they should consult the head of department, for example, or else, I mean, they can even email us, but usually either the head of department, in most departments, either the head of department or there is an academic coordinator for outgoing Erasmus students, okay? So if they ask in the department or with the faculty office, for example, because it depends a bit on the size of the faculty. For example, in the Faculty of Health Science, in every department, there is an outgoing Erasmus coordinator and an incoming Erasmus coordinator, so an academic member of the staff who assists the students coming in or going out. Sometimes it's one and the same, depending on the size of the department. In, for example, the Faculty of Economics, Management and Accountancy, it's the Deputy Dean who is mostly assisting students going abroad, but then the different heads of department assist. So they should be able to guide you to your course, whether it's studies. What I can say is most courses, we send students for studies. But then in some courses, and it's mainly health sciences, I would say, pharmacy, are there where we specifically send students for placements rather than studies, okay? And it is because of the nature of the course and how Erasmus has been integrated into the program, okay?
Another question is, do we need to satisfy the foreign universities' entries requirements, such as A-level qualifications?
Okay. Who's going to take this?
I can take it. Basically, when an agreement is set up with a university, what happens is that the head of department or the academic coordinator would check the course catalog, see that they are relevant for the students, for the program of studies that they are following, that there are enough study units that are relevant for the course, and then that agreement is set, and you would, if you are allocated at university based on academic performance, you would be allocated that university. Nominated, you would apply. The university would contact you to apply as an exchange student with them, and they would ask you for either a proficiency certificate in English. However, they won't go into as much detail as A-levels because you are already here studying, following an undergraduate degree. So their requirements are normally related to you being able to verify that you are able to follow certain units in that language of tuition. And in some cases, like for instance, Cardiff Metropolitan University for digital arts, they would ask you for portfolio, but that would depend on each and every university. They won't go into as much detail as A-levels, O-levels, etc. So if there are any exceptional requirements, such as a portfolio, we also have indicated next to the list of placements, because that would have been communicated to us as a requirement once we are setting up the agreement.
Next question is, in the list of placements, there is nothing for the subject area biology. Is it because there is none, or will the website be updated later on?
For biology, so far it has always been that the students would go on a traineeship in summer after the second year of their studies. And usually it's either the student would search for that placement so that they would carry their placement, their traineeship in a laboratory, or also consult with their academic coordinator or head of department to maybe see if they have any contacts where they could assist them with so that they could carry out their placement at.
Someone also asked that there is a student with maths and computer science course. Which area should they focus on if there isn't one specifically for both?
In those cases, usually the students would check the course catalog of universities that are present in both lists for under Faculty of Science and those which are available for maths, and also the list of placements for the Faculty of ICT, that indicates computing science. They would search for the course catalog, then with those course catalogs, you would approach your academic coordinator or both heads of departments to see that that university would be available and it's relevant for your study areas combined. What we can do is, we normally suggest is that the student would email us on our general Erasmus@um.edu email address, and we can provide students with the locations where such students with that combination have went in the previous years.
Okay, it is very important just to add on a short point to what Janice has mentioned. We do emphasize the importance of involving your head of departments and the Erasmus coordinator in the process of choosing your preferences. Someone has asked whether 5 preferences must be chosen. We do recommend that you choose 5 places because it helps us in the nomination process. As I have mentioned, places are allocated by academic performance. So if you're choosing the most popular places, the likelihood is they'll be taken up rather quickly. So the more options you give us, the higher the chances that you'll be allocated a placement, basically.
Someone asked, do they decide when to travel to a specific university?
Can you repeat, Matthias? Sorry.
Sorry?
Can you repeat the question?
Do we decide when to travel to a specific university?
When?
I suppose they're asking about the mobility period of their course.
Okay, no, the mobility periods, as Victoria has advised, are set for the specific courses, and they are available from the course finder itself. Okay, so if in doubt, write to the office and we can send you the link as to where you find it, but these are inbuilt in the course program itself. Okay, so you can't just decide I will go, next year in a specific semester. There are specific arrangements and they vary by courses. What is usually not the case is mobility in the final year of studies. Okay, for undergraduate programs, it is rare that you find a course where the mobility is allowed in the final year of studies. And again, as students, we don't suggest that you insist on this, because let's say that you proceed abroad, for example, for the first semester of your final year, and then you might fail some credits abroad. The resit systems at universities abroad vary immensely. Some are organized like ours, for example, that you have a resit, but you might need to travel for it. Some, for example, the resit is after a week, some it's after months, just like ours. Some don't have a resit, okay? So you would have to make special arrangements to take further study units here at the university. But again, let's say it would have been a compulsory unit, which is not available in the second semester, then you might have to extend your studies for a year. Okay, so that is why we really discourage mobility in the final year of studies, because there is quite a bit of risk. Moreover, a number of you would be preparing dissertations. And although some students have focused on their dissertations whilst abroad, it is important not to try to take on too much extra work, let's put it this way, when you are abroad. You need to consider that you're going to moving abroad to a different system. Possibly the university will be teaching in English, but everyone else is speaking a different language, so which you might need to pick up, or you need to learn, or not learn at all if you decide not to learn it. But obviously there's a process of adjustment. You need to follow credits. You need to make sure obviously that you're studying, but getting to know friends, having a good time. So try as much as possible to follow the advice provided by faculties and courses in terms of if the mobility semester is second year, second semester, it's not because someone decided it should be the case, but it's the ideal time for you to be away. Okay, so that there's a lot of thought behind deciding when. Okay, Matthias, are going to, because I'm seeing a lot of questions coming up.
I have more than 50 who sent me questions. So
okay, all right, okay. I think at some point we'll need to to kind of stop the questions then, because otherwise we'll be here for quite a few hours. Okay.
If that's the case, I still keep them and then we'll send an email with all the answers.
Exactly. Or I mean, and quite a lot of questions are also can be answered if you go through the website as well. Will you continue yourself, Matthias?
Yes,
Tell
I can.
us the question.
Someone asked where can they contact the Erasmus coordinator for their faculty?
Okay. Well, I mean, you ideally, obviously we can't publish this list for data protection reasons, but if you speak to the departmental secretary, usually the departmental secretaries are a really good source of information. So check with the departmental secretary who is the Erasmus coordinator for your course. If there isn't, then the head of department should be able to assist you, or will tell you, for example, speak to Dr. X or Dr. Y, whoever. Okay, thank you.
What if COVID is still around and we cannot go and we have already paid?
Okay, COVID will most probably still be around. We have now, this is this week I was thinking that we've been a year with COVID, although COVID hit Malta in March, it hit our office much earlier, since we had a large number of students away. Again, nothing is set in stone. We really don't know what's going to happen from August onwards. Some of you would proceed for their mobility from August onwards. Victoria will explain extremely quickly how what we call the principle of force majeure works. What we wish is that we encourage you. Obviously, what has happened over the past year is we've had students who obviously withdrew, decided not to proceed abroad. We've had students who gone and are completing their mobility abroad at the moment, or will do so in the second semester. The majority were revised to online virtual learning. Some students still proceeded to the host country and are following the virtual learning, but from example from Kent itself, okay? Of course, it's not the ideal experience. Some students obviously stayed in Malta and are following the semester from here. Victoria will reply very quickly on what happens regarding if you have already made bookings then.
Okay, so basically part of the Erasmus process, first of all, if you send the applications now, we'll need to take some time to process the applications, and more or less you'll know whether you have been allocated a placement or not. It will probably be around May. So by then you will be able to start registering with the host university, and there's a whole process that you need to go through in order to start preparing for your mobility, which entails the matching of credits that you will not be taking from the course program at the University of Malta, and also the provision of some other documents. Basically, given the circumstances, we are recommending students to delay submitting the deposits for accommodation and flights as much as possible, and then see by the time when you are bound to kind of travel, maybe June, July, for mobility starting in October, to see how the situation is. Things might change very quickly, as Stefania has mentioned. And there is also the possibility that, the situation deteriorates in the host country and the university just decides to cancel incoming mobilities. It has happened and it will probably continue happening. So in that case, the students, there's a specific board set by the national agency, which reviews such cases. Basically, we ask students to send us confirmation of the costs they have incurred, and we'll consider each case on an individual basis. That's it. Basically, it's there's no hard and fast rule, but we're taking it very much by the case.
Of course, you do not make bookings until things are finalized. And if you make bookings, try to make bookings that are, especially with accommodation, refundable bookings. They might cost more, but obviously we're still living in very uncertain times.
Also, another thing I wanted to mention is that from experience, insurances are not providing much coverage in cases related to COVID. Insurance is still required, so it's important for you to have one. But realistically, ideally, until there's the grant agreement in place, the final document, the commitment kind of between the university and the student that you shall be proceeding on Erasmus, that you ideally only purchase the flight up until that point, and delay the bookings for accommodation, as Stefania has mentioned, or opt for free cancellation.
Okay. Just to clarify, all of these further arrangements are explained during the pre-departure sessions, okay? So once you receive the letter of acceptance from us, you are notified about a pre-departure session and a pre-departure package, which provides you all of this information after you've been selected, okay? So now we won't focus so much on what happens afterwards, okay? Thank
Some
you.
Okay, sure. Matthias, if I may, I'm seeing a question from a student that is quite important. In my presentation, I have mentioned that some faculties and some courses have minimum requirements. The list is available on our website. It's a short list. Not all the courses have a minimum average. So if you log on to our website,
courses that have a minimum.
yes, about 6 courses, I believe. So you can check if you log on to follow the video and the presentation to see where you can check there was a table with the details specified. Sorry, Matthias.
So if sorry, Matthias, if your course is not listed, it means that there is no minimum average. Okay, thank you.
Someone else, their mobility period will be taking place in their second year of their course here in Malta. However, the host university has the study units in their third year of course. Are they still able to take them?
Yes. Yes, I mean, as long as the host university allows you to take study units from the third year and has no prerequisites for them, and from your head, your academic coordinators here think that at this point, I mean, at that point that you're going abroad, you have the competence to take those subjects, then it should not be a problem. But again, these are very specific arrangements that you need to discuss with the department here and the university abroad, okay?
Someone asked what is the mobility period for radiography, since it was not listed on the website.
I don't know.
They go in the first semester of, I believe it's the third year. However, do check with Miss Deborah Mitzi.
Yes, Deborah is very helpful. She's the academic coordinator for radiography. Okay, thank you.
Another question on health sciences. Do the medical diagnostic treatment technology mobilities count for students who are doing applied biomedical science?
Okay. Applied biomedical science, the nature of the Erasmus student mobility is basically one that takes place in a traineeship format. There's no specific list since students do so for to gain experience abroad, and they do not require to take any CTS. So what we have usually done in the last couple of years is that the students would get in touch with the head
Sorry,
of department.
if I may answer, because myself, I'm a student from applied biomedical.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay, so
For
that's good.
students who are in this course, basically you'll be contacted by Dr. Borch, Dr. Joseph Borch, and he'll explain everything to you. He'll give you a list with all the universities, and then he'll guide you through you step by step himself.
Okay, so what's important at this stage is that you submit an application. Even if you leave the placements blank, submit an application, okay?
And you may be able to go between your second year and your third year in summer.
Okay, thank you, Matthias. Very good. Next, please.
Next question. Okay, is there anything that can be done if, for example, I am not chosen for my top 5 preferences, but wouldn't mind going to any other country? Is there a reserve list for the rest of the countries, please?
Yes.
Yes. So what usually happens once the first semester results are published, we rank students by academic performance, start allocating placements. If a student on the list is the preference that he has or she has indicated in the application are already taken up by other students with a higher academic performance, what we do is still include that student on the list per academic performance and send it to the department for endorsement. Once that student is endorsed, we receive that list, and we have nominated all other students with a placement already allocated. We draw up another list, which is called the reserve list, and we contact the student one by one with the universities that are still available. Um, in case that there are no universities available, since they would have been taken up or taken up, we would keep note of students that would withdraw. So we recommend that students who are sure that they won't be proceeding and have been allocated a placement to inform us immediately, so we can offer that placement to the student or students on the reserve list.
Okay. Next question. How will the information regarding dissertation be communicated to the students who are abroad?
Okay, well, what happens very quickly after you have been now again, during the process of selection, okay, your faculty endorses your application, okay, so the faculty or the department knows who is going abroad. When you are accepted, you receive a letter and an invite for the pre-departure package or the pre-departure session, and you are guided as to the discussions that you need to have with the faculty. Obviously, students who are going to be preparing their dissertations will be in touch with the department. It's very important, and I really stress on this, that when students are preparing to go abroad, they make sure that they see to every arrangement. Or if you're going to have your dissertation, obviously you speak to your supervisor. I mean, today, over the past year, we've really increased our competencies with virtual learning, communication, etc. So I think it's become much easier than ever before to continue with any work that you should have done whilst here, okay?
So, is there a specific place where we may find study units which apply to us according to university as Erasmus placement students, or do we have to look for these ourselves?
Okay, basically you have the list, you go into the list and you start, I mean, the list is split by faculties, okay, as Victoria showed in the presentation, and then by area of study. And you have to do a bit of research. I mean, that's why we allow over a month for students to apply. Don't expect to go into the application form on the 23rd and complete it really well by the 24th. You can, but then you're just going to drop the locations. You have time, you have almost a month. Do as much research as possible. We don't expect that you're going to match the exact study units, but don't just go off the whim and say, okay, I would just like to go to Italy, France, and Spain, and just drop them on. Okay, so do a bit of research yourself, speak to your heads of department, try to find out through the faculty or through your student organizations, students who have been to those universities before, see what their experience has been, how much content they matched, if they had to do extra content when they came back. Okay, so focus on preparing yourself to choose the best, because then it's going to be very hard, if at all, to make changes. Okay, once you've been accepted at University X, unless something happens at University X, for example, it does not allow you to register, or they close down or whatever, you're not going to be allowed to change, okay? Because we can't switch students either. So it's very important that you try to research as much as possible, okay, at this point.
Someone asked if they can choose less than 5 placements in their priority list.
Yes, you can. However, obviously, you're decreasing your chances. We used to have 3 placements, increase them to 5 because it really quickens our work. What happens is, in a lot of courses, students just choose, they tend to all go for the most popular destinations, okay? Obviously, since we do the academic ranking, we allocate it literally, we go one by one. And once, if you might be ranked 5th, for example, and we've already exhausted the places where you go. So try also to be creative. If you really want to go on Erasmus, and maybe you think, listen, I don't have the best averages, choose places where other students might not be as willing to go. Also research the places, okay? Some students might, we have this huge interest, everyone wants to go to the UK and Ireland. Some students want to go to Italy, but we have some excellent locations even in Eastern Europe and in Spain and in other places where they're teaching in English, where it's generally tends to be much cheaper. You get accommodation on campus, and you're really going to get a great experience because you find so many other students from all over the world. And again, financially, your grant will stretch much further. So you're able to travel a bit more, you're able to enjoy yourselves a bit more than you would if you went to a very expensive city, you know? So take this time to research your placement, and if possible, yes, do list 5. Now, if you list 3, then you're going to be at a disadvantage if there are more than 5 places available. If there are, I saw a question, if there are only 3, I mean, again, you can only choose 3, you know, you cannot add 4 and 5. Okay, thank you.
Someone asked if someone goes to the UK between 2020 and 2021 as Erasmus for law is only available in 4th year, will funding not be provided for 2021?
No, as Victoria has explained, for next year, so for the academic year 21, for the period August 2021 until September 2022, students can still go to the UK, okay? And we will fund students going to the UK.
Is there a choice whether we can go in our 1st or 2nd semester, please? As due to the pandemic, I would rather go in the 2nd semester.
Again, it depends on the mobility semester set for the course. This is not a decision that we take. So discuss with your faculty and your heads of department or the academic coordinator and see which is the mobility semester. I appreciate that, you know, the pandemic can change things, but again, there is no guarantee that in the 2nd semester we're going to be better.
If I may add, this year we had students who wanted to shift their semester. Some departments did make arrangements for them. However, the situation was that this semester was even worse than the first one. So it all depends on the situation, which is beyond our control. So do stick to the recommended mobile semester, and then we would guide you further.
The next question was very similar, asking if someone can still change the mobility period between the semesters if they ask their head of departments, but we just answered that. Someone also asked, from where do we find out what minimum marks for our courses are? You already mentioned that there are 6 courses and they can find it on the site.
Exactly.
Someone asked, how do we choose how long we stay, or does it depend on the school or course?
Yes, again, it depends on the mobility semester, but in some cases, we do have some universities which will only allow full year mobility. We have only a handful of these. It would be because the study units run for a full year, okay? But those are indicated they will be indicated.
And basically, if I can add on to what Stefania is saying, it also depends on the term dates at the host university. So this would obviously depend on the locations that students choose.
Exactly. If I may add something on to that, basically we have a large number of universities across Europe where the 2nd semester starts earlier than ours. We tend to start very late here, especially this year. So what happens is there is a mechanism through which, obviously this year it was a bit easier because exams were online. So students were able to, well, the few students we had proceeding abroad, now they were able to move and they're going to sit for their exams online at the host university. Whilst obviously starting off, it's a bit disruptive, of course, but obviously it's the challenge that they decided to take themselves. Usually in normal circumstances, students who have no possibility of leaving later, so they must be at the host university, for example, on the 15th of January, and they would still have to do exams here. The faculty tries to accommodate them either by doing exams by correspondence, so you would sit for the exam there whilst it's being held here, or if possible, alternative methods of assessment, and to do some of the exams as during the 2nd attempt, so in September, okay? But you're not allowed to shift your whole exam, like all the exams, if they are exams, to the 2nd attempt. Okay, you can only do, I think, up to 20 CTS. The undergraduate regulations come into play there. These are things that we will explain in the pre-departure session then after you've been accepted. Okay.
Someone asked, I'm currently doing a joint course in the Faculty of Arts, and I will be dropping one of the joint areas in the second year, as this is an option. Would I still be able to apply for the year that I'm keeping? Psychology is the case, given that I have corresponding units to the university of my choice.
In case of the students that would select a specific study area for honors, they would need to look at the placements available specifically for the honors study area, not the subsidiary. In case of general students, I have been seeing some questions come in from students who wishes to remain general students in the second year. We recommend that students check both study areas, universities that are available for both study areas. You can check one, decide to try to opt for, I don't know, if you're studying psychology and you choose Oxford Brookes and you have another subsidiary area which is sociology, you can send an email to that university and check if they offer also study units in sociology. Usually universities allow the student to select other study units from outside that study area. However, the majority of the study units would need to be in the area that the agreement has been signed in. What we normally ask students to do to help their process in checking these universities which would be of benefit to both study areas in case of general is that you check if there are universities that have an agreement in the two study areas, and we also ask students to feel free to send us an email with the combination of areas that they have, and we can guide them, tell them where past students have gone in the previous years.
Okay, good, thank you.
1 second.
Can I take a question? Matthias, I'm saying, would we need to apply for a visa if we're applying for a university in the UK, speaking for a non-EU person? Now, as from this year, 2021, students who will be going to the UK for more than, I think it's 90 days, I need to verify. But anyway, this is information which the UK university would provide you with. You need to apply for a visa. So even if an EU, so not just Maltese, an EU student is going to the UK for studies, they will have to apply for a student visa, okay? These are things, again, which will be explained when you apply. For example, if you're accepted to the University of Kent, okay? The University of Kent will send you an acceptance package, and you really need to make sure that you have the visa information included. It's very, the UK has been used to having international students for years and years and years, so they're really prepared for this, and it's a very well organized system. So irrespective of whether you are EU or non-EU, you will have to apply for a visa, okay? Now, for non-EU students who are studying with us here at the university, when you are traveling on Erasmus, for example, to Italy, you need to verify that you can study there with the residence permit you have in Malta, okay? Now, again, this is support that we provide you on an individual basis, okay? As we have done we've had several non-EU international students who are studying with us here go on Erasmus. We will provide individual support and see your residence permits and all the rest. So this is something we will do on an individual basis. Okay.
Okay, are traineeships available for tourism students?
Mela, as far as I know, tourism go for studies, correct, Janice?
Yes, tourism go for studies. However, the study mobility, the opportunity for traineeships is available basically to all registered students in every study cycle, undergrad, postgrad, and doctoral.
I mean, if I may add, for tourism, it's really encouraged. So if you decide to do you can apply for a study mobility, and you can also apply for a traineeship if you wish to. As we said, you secure your traineeship in that case, okay? So if you wish to, for example, I remember one student many years ago, he did a study mobility in Trieste, okay, during the second semester, and then in the summer he stayed on, did a traineeship with a sailing club, okay? So it was really very much of a touristic experience for him, rather than, not a touristic, sorry, I meant a work placement for him, but it was in a very interesting touristic area, which, will really add benefit to your degree. So when you're looking at where you're going, make sure that you're going to add value to your degree, okay? I don't want to stop Jenny, sorry.
It's fine, it's fine. We do encourage this year, particularly since many students have had their mobilities either cancelled by the university or even by their department due to COVID. We have been reminding students of this opportunity, and many are actually taking it since the study mobility recommended mobility semester was just only one, so they couldn't go for the study mobility. The traineeship mobility, it would help students. I have known a student who went in France to observe the culture of winemaking, and it was quite interesting for him. And even if it's not course related, students would their CV today is very competitive, so going abroad, actually, even the idea that if you have on your CV that you have spent 3 months abroad, you would even give that idea that you have been there independently already at such a young age, that you have actually learned soft skills, how to communicate, how to go in your daily life, how you would practice, how you would engage with other people. So it would add value not just to your degree, but also to your CV, even if it's not course related. We also support even students going at an NGO where they would be addressing a particular cause, like, I don't know, climate change, anything. So as long that it is legal, because we had certain situations where we would question the official registration of the entity that they would follow. We find no objection. It's important that you would stick to the minimum requirement, duration of 2 months and the maximum of 12 months. Even if you go on study mobility, you would enjoy it, you want to go abroad again, we do offer the traineeship again to students who would want to either take it up in summer or also up to where following graduation.
The next person has 2 questions, one of them being, is accommodation found by the University of Malta, or do we need to find it ourselves? I think I can answer that they need to find accommodation themselves. And the other question is, if I have lectures given only in Malta, such as English proficiency, would I still be able to follow both lectures in Malta and in the foreign country?
Well, I mean, the thing is, it depends on whether you need to follow them or whether these classes can be suspended until you're abroad. These are a bit of individual kind of arrangements. This year, as I said, the few students who managed to still proceed with their mobility, the fact that a lot of the content here was online, but we don't know yet what's going to happen next year. So these specific questions, I'm afraid, we'll have to handle more on a one-to-one basis in consultation with the departments concerned. Again, there's a huge push by the university to send as many students as possible. So the university itself will facilitate as much as possible your Erasmus mobility. But obviously you need to work towards making it a reality yourselves as well. Okay, thank you.
Matthias, if I may, there's a question that I would really like to address. Basically, it was posted by a student, and she's asking whether funding will be available if lectures will be held online. Basically, in view of recent developments, we have been informed by our national agency that if students intend to travel to the host country, so say, for example, the mobility shall take place in Poland, if a student of the University of Malta decides to still travel to Poland, and undertake the mobility virtually from Poland, students will still be eligible to receive funding. It would be the same funding as I have mentioned in the presentation. On the other hand, if students follow the virtual mobility from Malta, they will not be entitled to receiving financial support, and this is obviously because there will be no costs incurred. Another important thing I'd like to mention is that in view of COVID, some universities have been advising students whether or not they should be traveling to the host country. Recently, in the UK, there was the new strain of the COVID virus, and most universities have asked students to just follow virtual mobilities from their home countries and then travel to the UK at a later point if possible. So you very much need to follow advice being provided by the host university, also to, to try to not enter into unnecessary risks. Thank you, Matthias. Sorry for interrupting.
Next question. During the period of mobility, would we still be able to receive stipend given to us by Malta?
Yes, confirmed.
Next question was of the visa, which we answered. Okay, if on the list of placements a university is offered for a specific subject area, will I be able to take it up will I be able to take up other study units of the other subject as I would like to remain BA General?
Yes, yes. I think I already explained this. As long that the university, so you need to email the university first of all, and tell them that you wish to undertake your Erasmus study mobility at that particular university. That you, however, it needs to be that the majority of the study units is in the study area that the agreement has been signed in. Ask them if they offer courses of that other study area and how many ECTS you would be able to register from that study area. Usually they say if you need to register in total for 30 ECTS, as long as you have 15 or 16 ECTS, the majority of the units in the study area that the agreement has been signed in, they would find no objection.
Next question. I'm a BCom student and I'm still unsure of the major I'm going to choose. How will this affect the placement, and are there any placements which have courses in general, not specific majors?
The situation with FEMA is that when it comes to the study area of accounts, it's restricted to the second year, second semester, unlike the other study areas. So that would help us if we could know at least if you are going to select one of your study areas as majors in accounts. The other thing is that some like insurance and management, the head of departments did tell us that they are quite open to other universities that have the study areas assigned in different areas. However, when it comes to others, such as accounts, you are, due to the warrant that you would need to obtain, it's quite restricted in terms of placement. So you would need to start to think about the study areas now, and maybe you could also consult the academic coordinator and head of departments and deputy dean with regards to this situation, so that they may be able to tell you, listen, with this university, you are more flexible if you are still not yet sure.
Someone asked, would the average mark be counted after the September session? In unfortunate circumstances that a fail is obtained in one or more study units?
Unfortunately, no, since the nomination and application deadlines of our partner universities are quite early. Some would even start towards the end of March. So yes, we would be waiting for the results to be published of the first semester. So we could get on with the ranking, allocation of placements, and the list to the department for endorsement, and we would start nominating within the very, very short time frame set for the deadlines by other partner universities. So we can only depend on this semester's results for ranking.
Someone asks, do we apply now for, do we apply from now for second year? I assume they're in first year.
Yes, so you would always apply the year before, in the academic year before you are expected to go on a mobility.
For social work, our traineeship abroad is set to occur in the summer post third year. If to do the traineeship abroad, what will we do during our first semester of our third year, the period in which we're supposed to do our placement in Malta?
I believe for social work on, if we can confirm, on Friday we would be having a specific meeting for social work students, so we can address that question particularly there, and there would be Prof. Claudia Psaila that she could assist with that question.
But in the meantime, if you want to get a reply before, Prof. Claudia Psaila is the academic coordinator for Erasmus outgoing students in social work. Okay.
Next question. The deadline for traineeship is the same. Is there a specific period when one can go? I think the application is the same, so it's the same deadline, right?
Yes, correct.
But the period depends on the mobility period of the course.
Yes.
Good morning. I'm a first-year undergraduate student reading a degree in tourism studies. On the one website, there isn't any available average percentage required in order to be able to participate in this mobility for tourism. Where can I be able to obtain this?
No, there is no minimum score for tourism. As we explained in the beginning, there are only a few courses where you need to have a minimum average to be able to participate. But what we also encourage, and I know a lot of you are about to sit for your exams, the average that you get now, or got maybe last year, depending on what time you are selected, it's very, very crucial. Okay, so you do your best for these exams. Again, if you decide, listen, certain exams, I'm not going to do them now, I'll do them as a first attempt in September, that will affect your grade as well. So, and again, you'll have exams in September, you'll be conditionally progressed. So as much as possible, give it your all during the session and try to do as best as you can to get a good scoring, because that is really going to affect the wide opportunities that you might be able to access. Of course, we'll try to accommodate all students. If we see students who are struggling, okay, now this is where we need to be a bit fair towards students too. Students who might have not done so well, and I'm meaning that they might have a number of resits. We will discuss with the faculty to see what's in the student's best interest too. Okay, so this is not a situation where we draw a line with every program. Some faculties encourage all students to go, even if their average is not strong, but we need to make sure that by going abroad, you will not put yourself at a disadvantage from graduating too. So this is a decision that we take together with the faculty and sometimes involve you in this consultation as well. Thank you.
I would like to share my screen a bit for a second to address this issue about the minimum scores. I'm displaying, basically this is the list of courses, you can see it here. So as we have explained earlier, if your course does not feature in the list, then you don't have a minimum. It would be subject to endorsement from the department.
All right, so these are the courses which just appeared. There are only a few courses, okay? So you don't really need to worry so much about this.
With regarding to performing arts/theatre, we were told that we don't need to make sure the study units are the same. How do we go about choosing the universities?
I would suggest that you speak a bit to, I believe the academic coordinator is the head of department himself, Janice will.
Dr. Mario Frendo, yes.
Dr. Mario Frendo, have a word with him. Again, I mean, this is where you see the spectrums. We have some courses where it's a requirement that as much as possible credits match, especially courses which are tied to warrants, for example, or licenses, or have accreditation from a foreign body. That is where the department has to be a bit stricter. Certain other areas, for example, in certain areas of arts, there can be more freedom because if students are going to follow a semester abroad, they can access different content. What you still need to consider, however, is in arts, especially and some other areas, you have synoptic exams at the end. Now, the synoptic exams will be modeled on the study units that were offered by the University of Malta. Okay, so the synoptic exams cannot take into account. So Stefania went to Roma 3 and Janice went into Firenze and they did this and this and this. Okay, synoptics are modeled on the local course program. So if you think that you will go, it's great that you will learn different things, and we really, really encourage you because Erasmus is about learning and expanding your knowledge. But if there was some content which will be important for you in the future, especially for a local setting, if you're planning to work here, for example, or there will be very crucial for the synoptics, try to read when you come back, read notes, have a small tutorial with lecturers, etc. So it's important that you don't just, close yourself into the box of, I did this abroad, and I'm only meant to do this, okay? Check for yourselves. University learning is about learning. It's not about just doing, okay, I ticked all study units here, ticked study units abroad, I'm set to graduate, okay? Make time to expand your knowledge of content you might have missed here, okay?
I would like, I'm scrolling through the questions. There's a question from a student. Basically, she has biology and chemistry double degrees. It is suggested that we go in summer of the third year, but this summer we will be working on our dissertation. Can we go instead between the second year and third year? So basically, to tie with this question, one thing I did not mention in my presentation with regards to traineeships, besides undertaking a traineeship during your course, you'll also have the possibility to undertake a traineeship within 1 year from your last exam, basically, that you undertake at the University of Malta. So basically, after you graduate. Unless, to address the specific question, unless there are placement requirements set by the course, you're free to undertake mobilities at different placements. Janice, I think you can.
Yes, if there are no specific placements and specific that you do not go for a placement for ECTS, then you are quite free to find a placement anywhere where you wish to undertake it. It is to be course related in your case, and even though that it won't be weighted with the ECTS, then you are still free to when you don't have any academic tasks here, you could carry out your dissertation, continue working on your dissertation abroad. You could actually orient that traineeship particularly towards finishing your dissertation that would be supported by the traineeship mobility. Or you can also seek a work placement abroad related to your course in any summer when you don't have any other academic commitments that you need to finish.
Someone asked, what's the mobility paid for BCom?
It would depend on the study areas usually. Normally for all except accounts, it's the second year first semester, the recommended one. Some would allow even the second semester as the second preference for the recommended mobility semester. However, if it's accounts as one of your study areas, then it's strictly the second semester in your second year.
Someone suggested mobility paid for tourism students this second year. Do we apply by the 24th as well? I assume they're first years, and I think that's yes, right?
Yes, yes.
Do we need to give 5 preferences? Yes, you can give 2 or 3, but it is recommended that you give 5 preferences. Do we need a visa if we apply for studies in the UK for a year?
I replied already.
For social work, you only have 3 placements, so that means you only give rankings to the 3. the next question is, if my placement options are very limited, no, in brackets, no other students with my course went for Erasmus in the past, would I be able to find a new placement which is not on the list and get the University of Malta to sign a contract with the new university?
There is we need to see first that there is in place already the recommended mobility semester. If there has been any arrangements done already, if the mobility should be studies or traineeship. So ideally, the student would get in touch with us so that we can see what program studies she or he is following, and we can see what is already set up. If the if they are if it is intended to carry out a study mobility and this is not already, the framework is not already in place and there aren't any agreements, the student can always apply at this stage for a traineeship mobility that they would secure on their own.
Okay. Next question. I lost track. Okay. I am first year student and my course encourages Erasmus in the second semester of the second year. Do we still have to apply? Yes, you applied always on the year before. And I cannot seem to find the Erasmus coordinator for my course, which is sociology. Should I contact the head of department?
It's the head of department who guides students in sociology.
Regarding accommodation, do we need to find that ourselves and contact university that we intend to go? Yes, need to find the accommodations yourselves.
Yes, the university itself, where the student would be allocated, would provide this information. They would either offer accommodation on campus itself, or they would provide the list of verified agencies or any other partners that they work with for accommodation, and they would guide them with this. In case that they won't have enough information or accommodation is quite challenging to locate, we can ask these students to get in touch with us. They would send us their consent and we could share their information with previous students that they have been already studied or have been in that city or university, so that they can ask them and help them themselves where they have stayed and provide them with information.
Someone asked, where can we check in which language the course will be taught? I think that's information you can find in the university's website.
In the course catalog itself, usually next to each and every study unit, there is indicated how that study unit is conducted. If that information is not readily available in the course catalog, ideally the student would email the university, tell them in which study area they are in, that they intend to go there and they would be studying at their university, and that they would provide them the list with, for example, in English, that they are available for exchange students.
We are taking an ELP course as well. How will that affect our placements? I think that's the English language proficiency.
Yes, we'll need to check about this, to be honest. So again, I mean, students should apply. Okay, it's very important that students submit an application, and we'll deal with these matters as we go along. Okay. I don't know whether we had any students with the ELP this year.
Yes, not this year particularly. The previous ones we had, and the center which offers this course, they would make their arrangements for them. We have never found issues that students had to withdraw from this course particularly because of it.
Someone asked for biology and chemistry. The balloons is suggested to go in summer of third year, but in summer we'll be working on dissertations. I think you already answered this, right, Victoria?
Yes.
Next one, if you are accepted to go to Erasmus, can we decide not to proceed?
Well, yes. I mean, the thing is, obviously, no one's going to force you to go. What you need to consider are two things here. First of all, when you are accepted for the program, in the letter of acceptance, you are given a deadline by when you should confirm whether you are going or not. If you confirm, then you are expected to proceed with preparations, and we track that you are proceeding with preparations. Students who do not proceed with preparations, we will be in touch with you and will give you further deadlines. because we are on a race here to send as many students as possible abroad within deadlines. Um, we have to, what is called, do a process of nomination. So we nominate you to the universities abroad. They give a deadline. So, and some of these deadlines are very early, like April, early May. So we have to nominate students selected for a specific university as early as possible. This involves a lot of work because we have to wait for the results to be published, draw up rankings, averages, do nominations within very, very tight deadlines, and we get hundreds of applications here, okay? Students are then on reserve lists. So if you are not going and you refuse the place, someone else from the reserve list will have a right to take your place. And here we are trying to send as many students as possible. This is a public program, okay? This is not a privately run program. The European Commission devotes public financing, public funding to it, okay? So we have huge obligations to fulfill and use up as much of this money as possible, okay? So it's your responsibility that if you get an acceptance letter and you decide, listen, I've already decided I am not going, you immediately inform us, okay? You don't stay waiting for deadlines or for us to call you or contact you. And for us, deadlines are deadlines. So if you are told you are to reply to this letter by the 10th of April, if we don't hear from you from the 10th of April, on the 11th April, we're going to take your place and nominate someone else, okay? So we are very strict with deadlines. It has to run in this way. Now, we've had obviously students who dropped out at the last minute. We obviously try to work with students that they don't drop out, for the whim. Um, there's a lot of work, a lot of commitment from your side. You might decide, listen, this is not for me, or you might be facing a personal difficulty, an illness. Anything can happen. So, no, you're not going to be penalized for not going. But if you are not keen on going, if you decide you're not going at any point, it's very important that you speak to us, even if you are a bit hesitant. So maybe by speaking to us, and you might have a problem, we can help you resolve the issue, or we might help you to see it in a different way. So it's very important that students communicate with us and we don't lose out on those very, very important seats that we have abroad. Okay, thank you.
For Bachelor of Arts students in two areas, specifically English and psychology, which universities from the list should we choose?
If you go into the placement list, you know which ones are available for English. Now, if you're going to, obviously, I believe for psychology, if you're going to do, sorry, for arts, if you're going to take a major next year, so you're going to go for honors, as far as I know, you can only choose English. Because if you're going to choose psychology, you should be in the Bachelor of Psychology, not in the Bachelor of Arts, okay? So if you're going to choose general, we've repeated this a few times, you need to make sure that the university that you're going to list offer both areas and they will allow you to choose credits from both areas. Okay, thank you.
If I may add something with that, the other option that students usually make as an arrangement when they are keeping the two study areas, so they would remain general students, is that if they can see that they can make arrangements, so this would be guided with the academic coordinator or head of department, that the semester that they would be staying abroad, they can focus on one study area, and the University of Malta, the program of studies, the course structure would allow you to focus on the other. Once you are in Malta, for instance, first semester you would be in Oxford Brookes doing the psychology study units, and the second semester you would be focusing on the other. Some students have done that. However, they need to ensure from before that this is possible in a way that their program studies, the course structure allows it. So it's best that this research is done together with the academic coordinator or head of department and see if that's also possible for you.
If we are a Bachelor of Arts and are thinking of remaining in the general course, do we choose a university for both subjects or just one? And how will we follow the other subjects' lectures?
It's quite the same, yes.
Extensively already.
Will funding still be given if lectures are held online, but students still wish to travel to the host country?
Victoria
Yes.
has already answered this.
If the university semester is from January to April, which is different than our second semester dates, would it still be available to choose?
Yes, yes. Obviously, what you need to consider is when you're leaving in early January, you'll have to make arrangements for the first semester exams. So again, there's a process which has to be done. You need to consider that for the first part of your mobility, you're going to be, you're going to have quite a bit more, maybe lectures to be followed, etc., etc. So you're going to start off your mobility abroad with a bit more load than you would have once the semester here ends. Okay.
For social work, we only have 3 placements. Yes, you should only apply for the 3. For social work, our traineeship abroad is set to occur in the summer post-third year. If we choose to do traineeship abroad, yes, that we already answered. Would funding still be given if lectures are held online? That is no. Are average grades based on the semester only or the whole course? I think that is the whole course, right?
It depends. Janice.
The ranking would be based on the if you, for instance, you are in your third year applying to go on a mobility in your fourth year, we would wait for the results to be published of this semester, and we would take the averages of the all results that have been published so far.
But we have some exceptions, I believe.
Some exceptions like law and physiotherapy.
For law, do you know?
For law, so the students, once you submit to the application, once the deadline has passed, we can start ranking immediately. We won't be waiting for this semester's results to be published, since the ranking would happen on the first is based on the first and the second year averages.
And the same for physiotherapy. We take the average that you had before the start of your current academic year. Okay. I think. Did you have any other ones on your end, Matthias?
Would be receiving the money before or after leave?
Okay. No. Normally, now this is a bit of a give and take situations. We are obliged to provide the grant. Not we are obliged. We prefer to give you the money before you leave, but it all depends as to when you finish your paperwork too. Okay, so obviously the earlier you submit your paperwork, and we'll explain what the paperwork will be, the higher the chance that you'll get your grant before. We've had students who submitted their papers and left the day after, which shouldn't be done. But obviously then you're going to get your grant whilst you're away. So it's very important that students really time their preparations. COVID, yes, might still affect preparations. This year it was extremely disrupted, but we obviously live in hope that by August, September, things will be at least slightly better across Europe.
Also, in general, we recommend that students submit the documents that they need to submit at least 40 days prior to their mobility, just to give you a rough timeline.
Yes.
Someone asked, what if I'm unsure of my majors and change my thoughts in second semester, sorry?
Change my thoughts.
It would depend when you would.
I mean, if I may, at this point, I mean, if there is something and you change your mind, contact us, send us an email. If necessary, we'll have a phone conversation or a meeting, and we see what can be done. Okay. If it depends on the area, it depends on the number of students who would have applied for that area. There are many factors to be considered. So, I mean, we have situations where we might not get, like you might get, for example, for small programs in terms of numbers, like archaeology, for example, we would have very few students participating every year, and there are very few students pursuing the degree. So there, if you're going to change and switch, more placements might be available if the nomination deadlines are still available, okay? But if you're going to, if it is, for example, for FEMA, where you have so many students who apply and so many students on the course, if you're shifting, you might end up on a reserve list, okay? So it really depends on the course itself. We try to accommodate students as much as we can within reason. We need to keep to principles of transparency. The Erasmus program has a huge amount of regulations. We have our own internal regulations. There's obviously an audit, an ombudsman, and all that. So we need to always make sure that whatever we do is fair and transparent. Where we can help, we will help. And where we can't help, we will tell a student, listen, we can't help because of this regulation, for example. So it's very important that students consult us and consult us. They don't go on social media and ask questions. They consult us primarily, okay? Because we would be able to help you on an individual basis.
Someone asks, if there is no average, students won't be ranked by marks. I think the average is just to apply, but then everyone would still be ranked by marks.
Academic ranking is used for all students, okay? It's all when students go on their individually sorted out traineeships, I call them. So if you're going to spend the summer with training kids on a sailing club, okay, or with a forestry management program, there again, we still need to see that you're obviously doing well in your studies, but you're not going to be academically ranked with anyone else because this is you've sorted out the traineeship yourselves. But otherwise, yes, we always academically rank all the students on the specific course per year. Okay?
Okay.
Miss,
Someone asked,
kont saqsejt il-mistoqsija the one before this, peress li fit-tieni semester konna aktar options, especially new subjects, u they'll be available to choose as majors in second year. Għalhekk qed ngħid forsi I take a liking to a different subject that was introduced in the second semester.
If I may ask, inti li ma course, yeah, please.
Bikom, jgħet
Bikom. I mean, I know it's a very hard choice, pero aħna at this point.
I did economics and accounts, for example. Forsi night I'd like to take insurance because I haven't had one lesson at TFM.
Yes,
and the deadline is exactly in the beginning of the second semester, so I don't think I'm gonna be able to change my mind, so to say, before the application deadline.
I mean, what I could suggest is that maybe in your case, try to go through the list of placements and see who offers a widest possible choice. What you have to appreciate, however, is here we have a faculty. You registered with a faculty which teaches economics, management, accountancy, insurance, public policy. It's a massive faculty, to be honest. And many times abroad, you would find, for example, a business school, and the business school tends to focus more on management, marketing, accountancy would be sometimes more with mathematics, for example, or shared. Economics many times tends to be with faculties of humanities, arts, etc. Okay, whereas here it's a very large faculty with a lot of areas. So what I could suggest is maybe try to have a bit of an idea by going through the placements. Scusami, the phone ringing. I can't cut it, sorry for the background. Try to go through the list of placements and see who offers wider choices, okay? And maybe like that, whatever you decide to choose in the future, you'll have a better idea. I could also suggest that maybe you focus a bit on, you try to speak to heads of departments or academic coordinator. The two deputy deans for the faculty, especially Vince Kassar, maybe try to have an appointment with him, speak to him, see what he can suggest, see where other students have gone, in the past, and also look at other options. I know, for example, that we have a university in Strasbourg which accepts FEMA students, and there I believe they have a business school, but they also have a faculty of economics. So, you'll have more of a range, and I believe that most of their subjects are in English, okay? So whereas in the UK, they tend to be more focused on a business school, okay? In certain other countries like France, Belgium, etc., they might have a wider subjects available and you can choose eventually what you would like, okay? I hope this is a bit helpful.
Not sure if this one was answered before. Does the ICT in the list of averages required refer to the faculty itself? I think that's a yes, right?
Yes, all courses that fall under the faculty of ICT has that minimum average mark.
Okay. Someone else asked when we will be informed who is the other person joining us to university, just to get to know the person beforehand.
You will not be informed due to data protection of other students that are traveling with you. What we can, in that situation, if you would like to know who would be traveling, who is selected with you in that other universities, you contact us, give us your consent that we can share your details, and we contact the other student. If that other student do not find any objection with getting in touch with the student, we also won't pressure that other student. They would get in touch with the person who wishes to know who is traveling with him or her.
For law, is the academic performance considered just first semester of third year or of all previous years? I think that's all previous years, right?
For law, yes, first year and second year results.
Not third year, first semester.
Someone asked who is the academic coordinator for MAKS, BFA in Digital Arts, please?
Oh, Professor Vince Briffa.
When we apply, do we just write the name of the campus along with the country?
The name of the university, yes.
There is no average students. I think that's just answered. And the last question, do we get the maintenance grant together with the Erasmus support money?
Yes, if you're entitled to receive the stipends, you will continue receiving it.
That marks the end of the questions from my end, at least.
I think someone sent a question to me directly with regards to the placements. The list of placements should be updated to date. So, yes.
Correct. Now, one last thing. At this point, the list of placement is confirmed. Okay, so we will not add placements unless in extremely exceptional circumstances, which never really happen. Now, if it does, for example, let's say we sign this week or next week an agreement with, for example, an Irish university, okay? And I'm mentioning Ireland because we know Ireland is extremely popular for obvious reasons with our students. And we decide, listen, this is very important to include it because it will really increase opportunities. So we would contact students who applied already in that specific, okay, so imagine today we sign a new agreement for theatre studies with an Irish university, okay? We will take the application forms for theatre studies that we have received already and advise those students, listen, this place is available. You have until the 24th of February to tell us whether you want to change your preferences or not. Students who are in theatre studies will receive an email from their departmental secretary advising them about this. Now, again, this is very exceptional circumstances. All bilateral agreements were concluded by November, renewals and whatever. So what is online is what is available. So if a university is not available, don't hope that it's going to be made available because the probability is no new changes, okay? Except, as I explained, in very exceptional circumstances.
Jiena studja Faculty of Education u meta tħall fil-list of placements.
Excuse me, I'm going to stop. Can you please address the question in English for the benefit of all students?
Oh, sorry. I am a student studying in the Faculty of Education. I'm a first year student. And when I went on the list of placements, it was academic year 2020-2021. Is that still the one we have to look at?
That has been updated, so I think you would have probably seen that list about 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
It should have been updated. Yes, it should have been confirmed now.
Thank you.
I went through them all are updated. So yes, all
yes,
the list is updated and confirmed.
Okay, unless we have any further questions from the students directly. Okay, do we write non-applicable to blank preferences?
No need. Just leave it
No,
blank.
just leave it blank, okay? But again, if you're going to apply with a blank preferences, it is only if you're going to apply for a traineeship and you haven't sorted out the traineeship yet, okay? Because the Google form will not let us finish the form.
Yes, because it's compulsory. So do write NA.
All right,
Yes.
sorry. It's still new.
If I want to add, I have been informed by Dr. Kenneth Cherry from engineering because you were supposed to have a breakout room so that he could advise you with the details corresponding to the course. There was an emergency, he cannot make it. However, he will be contacting you so that he could set up a meeting, a quick meeting with yourselves.
Okay, so this is for students in engineering. Okay, so unless we have any further questions, I think we should wrap up. This recording will be available, so students who maybe did not listen to it from the beginning or missed it will be able to access it. If you have questions, send us an email. Appreciate that at this time of the year, we get a large number of questions, okay, sent by email and a large volume of emails. So we will get back to you, okay, as quickly as we can. I think that's it from our side. I don't know if Matthias wished to add something.
That's all from my side as well, I think.
All right, okay. I wish to thank Matthias for ably supporting us as always, and KSU, of course. I wish to thank the student organizations as well, who have been very actively promoting Erasmus, including ASN and other organizations present here on the campus. I wish to thank the rest of the team at the International Office. And I know that some of the Erasmus academic coordinators or departmental secretaries joined us too, and I really wish to thank them all for their support. We're here for you. We encourage you to apply. Let's hope COVID won't dash your plans, but obviously we live in hope. Okay, thank you very much, and good luck with your exams. Thank you.
Have a good day, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Goodbye.
Thank you.